Celebrate life and have a good time.
In the world where we trial and tested, they jar protected, gave them powers for breakfast. Not much hours and hours that I've invested, though I channel the powers that can't be messed with.
Powers, I am Mark, myself, 100 Eyes from the Powers for Breakfast Show, the most edutaining podcast in the UK. You should know that by now, people. I am mad. Today we got a very special person joining us today. She goes by the title of world teacher, actress, model, singer, songwriter, producer, visionist, and most importantly, a mother. How you doing, Jana Sebastian?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, you did great.
Thank you so much for the introduction.
You like it, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you're looking well. You're looking well. How's the journey?
Oh, it's been great. It's been fine because I came from Croydon.
Yep.
All the way up north.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Up north?
Well, I mean, here, like North London, but not all the way next to Scotland,
Yeah. So, okay, boom.
Yeah.
Welcome to Powers for Breakfast. Today, it's all about you. So, we're going to be deep diving into who Jana Sebastian is, what her influence is, how she grew up, origins, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So, let's kick this off nicely with Genesis. Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Moscow.
Moscow?
Yes.
Russia,
but at the time it was called Soviet Union.
USSR?
USSR.
Wait. Fucking hell. How did we get here already? On the first line? Wait.
Have you ever met anyone who was born in the USSR?
I have not. So wait. So you say you're born in Russia, what? Who's Russian? Dad? Mum?
My mother is Russian.
Your mother's Russian?
Yes.
And your dad's?
My dad is from South India, Kerala.
Oh, so was he in Russia?
Yes, he came to Russia to study and he's actually a doctor of science.
In Russia now?
Well, he's in India, but he did, his full doctorate studies there, in terms of genetics, actually. So this is his specialization.
You know what? I've got so much questions to ask you now. From Russia?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Russia your whole life?
Yeah, I came to London when I was 20. Okay. And so I was born there. I grew up there and I went to school. I graduated from Russian Academy of Music, where I did my master's degree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where's your mother?
She's actually in Moscow.
She's in Moscow still?
Yeah.
How often did you go back to Russia?
There was a time when I didn't go there for quite a few years.
Why?
There's been loads of different reasons, and I also couldn't travel outside of the UK for some time. But I was there recently, and it has changed a lot. It literally just blew my mind how much it changed.
What's the similarities between UK and Russia?
Actually, the similarities, of course, would be just the things that the tourists would see when they might go to Moscow or St. Petersburg.
Okay, yeah.
Just the big cities.
The cathedral, yeah? St. Petersburg's a cathedral, right?
No. St. Petersburg is another city in Russia, big city, megapolis, but it used to be the capital of Russia. During different times, it was either St. Petersburg or Moscow, and then back to Moscow. So they're like the competing capitals of Russia. And
whoever's making the most money, right? That's the capitals, right?
No. It's more to do with.
I thought capitals was about money, because capital is about money, isn't it? Capital city, money, the city that makes the most money.
No, it was more about cultural reasons and just the politics at the time. So that's actually what was the case. And in Moscow, Moscow has changed. Of course, Moscow is very similar in terms of when you come there, the things that a tourist would see. In Moscow, in London, in New York, you pretty much could find all of those things there. Coffee shops and theaters and big like stadiums and concerts and all that whole vibe. So but outside of Moscow in St. Petersburg, that's a whole different story. It's
a complete racist?
No, it's just it's a very different a place culturally, and there's so many cultures there because Russia contains different republics and regions within itself, not like the States and America, because the States, in the United States of America, obviously it's more about like political sort of divisions rather than geographical in such sense. But there it's more like you go to every region and you meet completely different people, you know, different sort of music, different culture, different beliefs.
It's a massive landmass, so you want to have different type of cultures in different pockets of the country.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Differences. What's the clear differences you see between Russia and the UK?
The clear difference, well, I would say that within their mind, people there are actually more free.
Why do you say that though? Why?
I would say that, well, that has come through historically and also in terms of how the country is run.
Communist, isn't it?
No, it's not communism. It used to be communism until 1990.
So what's it now?
Well, officially it's capitalism, but it's its own version of capitalism because it's you know, Russia is 2/3 Asia and 1/3 Europe, and it has always been different. It has always had like its own path, and so yeah, people are more free. There's a lot more overall. I would say there's more spirituality.
There's more spirituality in Russia.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I can believe that, man. To be fair, they look like the religious people. To be fair, I mean, you see videos and films of them. They're always clutching a cross or something.
That's just one side that is only shown. They only show the Christian side of it. There's
in a main Christian country.
No.
Russia's not a Christian country.
No.
So what is it?
There are all of the 4 major religions in Russia are considered traditional religions in Russia, which means that they're actually written in constitution. So Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and Buddhism are all traditionally there. You know, it's not like coming from the immigrants that brought those religions there. No, all of those religions were coming up historically there within the indigenous people that were there. And then you also have, you have a lot of the, what people would call traditional folk beliefs, right? So natural beliefs, magic, what people like to call in the West pagan, right? Or they would call it, you know, the traditional ancestral beliefs. And they would be also very, very prevalent in a lot of places, and they're protected by law as well. So,
wow.
Yeah.
It's okay then.
Yeah.
What's the Indian population like in Russia?
Pardon?
The Indian population.
I wouldn't say that there isn't an Indian population as such, because obviously Indians that would be there, they would be usually like my dad. They would come there to study or to work.
And go back?
Go back because, again, historically, Indians also, they're very, like Indians like my dad, for example, they're very connected with their motherland, India. So, you know, he loves India.
You been there?
I haven't been there yet because I had asthma in my childhood and I couldn't change the climate, you know, because it's too different. And since then, obviously, it's still like on my, you know, I have to go there for a specific time, but I'm studying it, you know, from cultural musical perspective.
Yeah, you gotta go there.
I have to, yeah. But when I go there, I want to go there for a prolonged period of time.
Okay, I see.
To properly, you know, study my roots there.
Wow.
You know, to see, especially Kerala is called God's own land. So it's also a very spiritual place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say you're more Russian than Indian? Like,
No.
Like culturally?
No.
No?
Actually, a lot of people don't know this.
Talk to me.
But Russia and India have a lot of cultural connections.
Tell me
And
one.
in fact,
Tell me few.
well, Russian and Sanskrit, the languages are very much linked together.
Well, Russian and Indian?
Sanskrit, which is the mother of all of Indian languages.
Oh, wow.
A lot of the things in the architecture, in the clothing, in the ornaments are very similar. Generally as well, musically, if you go back to the folk music, you know, there are a lot of spiritual texts that are very interlinked, and they also are performed on stringed instruments. The only difference is like in India, it would be like something like sitar, you know, and in Russia, there's domra, there are gusli, and some of the Indian instruments are very similar. And when you go back to, you know, the traditional sort of classical music of those regions, it goes more and more, you know, intertwined. A lot of the names in Russia and in India, you know, they kind of the same. And sometimes actually there was one researcher from India who came to Russia, and he came into some of the places that are in Siberia and in certain places. And he said, oh, because some people there, they speak the ancient Russian rather than the contemporary one, the Moscow accent. Yeah. And so he said, oh, these guys are literally speaking some kind of broken down version of Sanskrit. Because he was actually, you know, studying Sanskrit, and he's an Indian. So there are a lot of things. And in fact, during communist times, Indian films were some of the only ones that were allowed to show from abroad. And Russia and India have never been at war.
But when I actually think about it though, yeah, you can actually kind of link it. The Mongolian Empire is in between both of them, isn't it?
That used to be at the time, and the do you mean the Mughal Empire, which was ruling India?
Yes.
Right. This at the time.
But it was ruling the whole region, wasn't it? Because if you're saying Russia's part of Asia, I can't see them missing Russia.
No, it was only ruling India, you know, and then.
When in most of Asia.
No, because then this was Russian Empire that was also bordering Mongolia. This is a different region, which was also bordering Russia, but it's a bit like closer to China. And Mongolia also wanted to join USSR. They wanted to join USSR at the time.
Is there any black people? A lot of black people in Russia. Do you know any famous black people in Russia? Have you heard of Alexander Pushkin?
Pushkin is Pushkin is a poet that everyone has to study at school.
Father of literature.
He's not a father of literature because there's been literature in Russia
black father of Russian literature.
He's no. We've had there's been literature in Russia for a long time, but Pushkin, what he did was at the time, throughout the regions of Russia, there were different people writing slightly differently. There were different variations of Russian. Some people were still speaking the ancient Russian. Some people were writing and talking during the church services in the church Slavic version of Russian, which is still spoken in the churches. The aristocracy were mostly speaking French at the time.
Crazy.
And so Pushkin, he kind of centralized, helped centralize what is the modern Russian literary Russian, right? The modern one. So, so he's not the father of literature as much altogether because there's been a lot of different literary works.
I did rephrase myself though. I said the black father of Russian literature. I think because he's the most famous black person from Russia that they gave him the title.
Yeah, his great grandfather was originally from Africa. Mm-hmm. And Peter the Great, the Russian emperor, his great grandfather was basically passing by those lands. He was in captivity from other people, and Peter the Great, he bailed him out and decided to make him his friend and almost treat him as a family member. And Pushkin's great grandfather grew up because he was himself as well a prince by blood, and so he grew up there, and he received the same education, and then eventually he rose to quite high positions, and that's how he was married then to great grandmother of Pushkin, the Russian great grandmother, and then obviously over the time, Pushkin became, he was a genius who was born a genius. When he was, his talent was recognized from a very young age. And so Pushkin was definitely, he studied at schools. You have to learn his poems, his fairy tales.
So he's like Russian William Shakespeare, isn't he? If you got to study him in schools, just like we got to study Shakespeare here.
We in Russia in generally, yes, in that sense, yes, and also Russia is very big on literature. So the literary tradition is very important. Russian language is a written language, more than spoken, and it's not a language of capitalism. Put it this way. Okay. English is more of a language of capitalism, transactions, right? Everything is to describe transactions. But when you're trying to explain more metaphorical things, mystical things, symbols, that used to be more present in the Old English, and then it was lost over the time. It was replaced. English was a lot more advanced 1,000 years ago. 100%. Old English, But Russian language is like 3D, three-dimensional. So you can describe within 2 words, 3 words, you can describe how you go, where you go, what you're doing while you're going, and you just say 2 words.
Yeah, because symbols, the writing looks like symbols.
Yes.
More than
and also words. It keeps a lot of the words are connected through roots. Okay. So for example, in English, rich, a person who is rich, right? So when you say somebody is rich, but in Russian, rich means bogati. So bogati comes from the word Bog. Bog is God. Okay. So a rich person is the one that carries God within themselves.
Are we still not talking about money then, are we?
No, not money. Yeah, so you're only rich if you carry God within yourself.
Your soul consumption is a decent level.
So you see how when people operate these different words, when a person says something in English like rich and things like that, automatically is disconnected from the spiritual reality. In Russia, you're only rich if you have God within yourself.
I like that.
I
like that.
And a lot of
Solviet.
Exactly.
I love that.
And it's not about the money. There's loads of proverbs about that. It's not a materialistic society. It puts a lot of the emphasis on spirituality first. Spirituality, friendship, family connections, ancestry is a big thing. Even within Christianity itself, Islam there's Sunni Islam, but there's also Sufism.
Are you religious? What religion, if you was?
So that's the thing, that religious, when we ask the question religious in English, right, it means like, do you observe specific religion, right? Like, do you follow a book or
who do you realign with? What culture or what religion or what God do you realign with? Religion?
So my beliefs stem from the knowledge that comes before the major religions.
I wasn't expecting that. That's big. I like that.
And those religions are also rooted in that knowledge. They contain pieces of that.
Okay, cool. USSR and America, they had a Cold War, didn't they?
Yeah.
You got to tell me this one. You was born there, but you immigrated to the UK. So you immigrated to enemy territories, in a sense, yeah? Who's right, who's wrong? In your eyes, what do you think? In the whole communism, capitalism debate, fight, what do you think?
I think the picture that was painted in the West, in terms of this whole Cold War situation and the differences between communism and capitalism is very different to
How Russia painted it.
not only how Russia painted it, because in Russia people speak English, and actually there's a lot more opportunity to be exposed to 2 different sides and 3 different sides. People read both English and Russian news and everything, and history books. They just look into every.
Are you saying the West is just haters? Are they hating then?
Well,
Sound like it.
it's huh?
It sounds like it.
It's a very deep question, put it this way. So on one hand, what they painted in the West of communism that was going on in USSR is very different to the reality, because they almost painted it as if it was like hell on earth.
Yeah, that's history's. Yeah,
and it wasn't. Okay. So there were obviously, the Russian Revolution was very bloody, but just like every revolution, right? Every revolution is covered in blood.
100%.
Because you have people take down the entire system and loads of people die,
you
right?
have to strip it away, yeah.
However, afterwards, after the World War II, well, actually, speaking about World War II, this is how this whole situation emerged. That Stalin built up Soviet Union towards the end of the 30s, and he managed to do a very impressive job in terms of, within a few years, to raise the country from being in shambles because of the revolution, the World War I, all of the losses that used to be at the time.
Was Stalin good or bad in your eyes?
It's not like good or bad. It's more like he was ahead of the country by the end of his rule.
Yeah.
He was the head of the country that won in World War II and won over Hitler. Okay. And destroyed the Nazi ideology, at least for the time being, at the time. And 26 million people died in that war in terms of Russians, just Soviet Union. And like, when you talk about Russians, you don't mean actual European Russians. We're talking about just 26 million Soviet citizens.
Are we talking about the Cold War or World War?
World War II.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, 26. So Soviet Union sacrificed 26 million Soviet people died in World War II so that the world could live without Hitler. And my two of my great-grandfathers fought in that war. One of them was the captain of the ship. And the rule is, if the captain sees that the ship is sinking and he has to let everyone go, he has to go last. Yeah. If he makes it, he makes it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. So everyone survived, but he went down with the ship. My other great-grandfather, he burnt in a tank. He was...
So you got bombed? Tank get bombed, or the tank exploded?
Yeah. The tank exploded. Yeah, so as you know, this is like one of the most painful deaths. So every family in Russia can tell a story like this. Almost everyone's great-grandfather, participated in that war, defended, because Hitler was marching through Russia, and this was the only country that he could not capture. He captured majority of Europe.
Yeah. Question: Is Hitler the worst person in the world in your eyes?
No, he's obviously awful, but he was working for other people that helped him. That were.
Have you heard of King Leopold?
Who?
King Leopold.
Yeah.
You heard of him?
In which times? Because there's been.
I think it was the second.
Okay.
To do with Congo. As I asked you, is Hitler the worst person you heard of?
No. I've heard of there's been loads of people in history, so it really depends, because 20th century is the time coming up to now. Yeah. You see World War II, World War I, World War II, and what is going on in the world now. These past 100 years were very specific in terms of coming up to the crossroads of history. In the past, during thousands of years of history, there's been different tyrants and different people that were doing loads of different things. But just coming back to Soviet Union, so after Soviet Union won in World War II, which is not spoken about in the West, and it's easy to not speak.
Whoa. Stop. Soviet Union won World War II.
Yeah.
Is that what they say in Russia?
They don't say it. You know it. When your family has fought in it, when everyone's family has fought in it, you know this.
You know what? I always it's weird, yeah, because I always say, did Britain really win the war? And everyone says to me, yeah, but
where have you seen the veterans? Have you seen a lot of veterans?
no.
If you go to Russia, you see every family has a veteran in their family, and they can tell the stories. The ones that came back, the ones that my great-grandparents didn't come back, but obviously my great-grandmother told me the stories of it. They were captured inside Novorossiysk. Hitler has never done anything, even 1,000th to Britain, in terms of what he has done to Russia.
Wow.
70,000 towns and villages were destroyed over there. My great-grandmother, together with my grandmother and her sister, they were captured in one of the captured cities that were under blockade. None of the cities in England were under blockade. People don't know about these things.
Yeah,
there was Stalingrad. There was the Stalingrad battle when Hitler blockaded an entire city, which was called Stalingrad at the time. Now it's called, now it has a different name. And 2 million people died in that battle, defending their city, children and women.
It makes sense. You know what? Sorry to interrupt you. It just hit me because what you're saying actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because England's still sour about it. And you can see it through the media. You can see it through their behaviour. Yeah. So Russia won World War II. Is that what you're saying?
We celebrate 9th of May every year. It's bigger than New Year's Eve. It's bigger than anything. It's bigger
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard that.
We have massive parades, and this is a shame on Western education in the fact that they don't teach us. And this is why I came here today to talk about it as the person from there, not as an outsider, not as a person that is like, who is what and who is that? You know, I'm telling you the story. My great-grandmother.
Listen. The comments are gonna love you when I put this clip out.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. They should, because there's a lot of things that are being talked about Russia. Is it this? Is it that? Like it's this mysterious place that nobody knows about, right? But they don't really talk to Russians about it, isn't it?
No, we don't.
Isn't
I spoke to a Russian and I found out they won World War II, and I just find that fascinating.
Exactly.
They don't teach it.
Imagine under the blockade, my grandmother and her sister, they had 200 grams of bread per day when she was 5 until the age of 10, and 1 glass of water. She was.
That's crazy.
She was my grandmother even was hallucinating by that time. And then afterwards, if you see a lot of older people, they don't allow you to throw away food from your plate. You have to clean the plate. And every Russian knows about this, about their great-grandparents and grandparents, teaching them you must eat everything from the plate because everyone remembers those times.
The Russians, yeah.
And, you know, history can be retold and rewritten if most people did not participate in it. But if the entire nation, and I'm not talking about, when we speak about Soviet Union, this consists over 160 different, tribes, put it this way, right? It's not just Russians, like European Russians. Yeah. Okay, there's Tatars, there's Tatars, the Dagestanis. Actually, my mom, Dagestan, actually speaking about Islamic parts of Russia. There are parts of Russia that are almost fully Islamic.
Wow.
Yeah. My mother grew up in Dagestan. She was born there.
Yeah.
Dagestan is predominantly Sufi. Okay. Yeah. So I actually went there this spring again. And it's really beautiful. It's the mountains, you know, Dagestan and Chechnya. And a lot of people don't know this as well, you know, that when, Russia is a very unique place where you could have a church, a mosque, a synagogue,
wow.
You know, a Buddhist temple. You know, all in one place, and no one is arguing.
That's good. You know what? I love this. I love the fact that you just updated my knowledge on that, because that was like a missing block in my mind, to be fair. I've always wondered, did England really win the war? when I look outside, all I see is German cars and the parrot. Do you know what I mean? So how does that even make
there are
sense?
Germans in there are Germans in Russia that obviously they were captured afterwards, right? Like during this time, during when Hitler was chased out, because it's not the first time when the West tried. In fact, it was. If you listen to the song that was, I can send you the actual with the translation. The main song that was sort of made to get the people rising, you know, to inspire the army, the Soviet army. The Soviet army song was, in a nutshell, talking about fighting the dark force.
Okay.
Yeah, the dark force, and it was fighting against the West at the time. Okay, and so when Hitler was chased out, this was not the first time when Russia had this kind of really huge person coming in,
Sorry,
right?
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Russia. So Russia, whose side were they on? If they chased Hitler out, were they on the side of the UK's?
Hitler was, of course, presenting himself as the leader, the so-called. He even tried to portray himself as some kind of messiah, you know, of first the Germans, and then obviously he conquered majority of Europe. So this is how he portrayed himself. But the reality is that there were a lot more deeper things, and within Russia, people see it as a spiritual war. You know,
I see it as a European tribal.
No, it was a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot more than that, and Hitler was into a lot of the sort of the. There's a reason why he wanted to find Shambhala on Earth. There is a reason why he had an expedition to Tibet. This was in search of the hidden knowledge of the ancient civilizations, but not just the knowledge, but mystical knowledge, but the dark side of it, right? And this is what people in Russia know, because this is how people were fighting against it. There was the official army, and then there were also, put it this way, the spiritual army there.
You know what? I love the way you've come and delivered that, but I can play devil's advocate because every country is gonna talk about their country in a certain light. So when you said Hitler's after the dark magic, I know, like a propaganda, like they could use to make people want to fight.
You can read it. You can read the original.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying though.
Yeah, you can read the original books that are written in, you know, German translated in English, or, you know, there's a lot of that. I don't go by any kind of, you know, any kind of unsupported materials, if you put it this way. I actually do always proper research into things. So if there is an original book, even the one that Hitler wrote,
You read it?
I would read it. You know, if there is an original book that Klaus Schwab wrote, I go and read it. I don't go by, oh, some people are talking about the Fourth Industrial Revolution and like, let's just believe anything. I go and read, what do they have to say about the Fourth Industrial Revolution? Do I agree with it or not? And so there's also in Russian school system, we have a really good way of teaching people how to assess knowledge, right? And that also is taught very well. It's a different school system to the West. That's another thing that's very different. Okay. The school system in England is completely different, and in America. So there it's more about working out with different chunks of information, putting together opposing sides, working with the sources, working with archaeology, the books, different sides of the story, watching videos, and, you know, talking to the actual people, and then assessing any information that you have. Looking into that's another difference in terms of how people assess the information in Russia. Like, people actually assess both. In the West, when people look at things in terms of Russia, for example, they only watch the English-speaking news.
Yeah, of course.
They don't, but in Russia they do. In Russia they watch the Russian news, they read the Russian books, and they also know what BBC and CNN is talking. And people actually learn English on purpose.
They got okay, so that's good. They got CNN and that in Russia. Even
No, they don't. That's what I'm saying. People find their time to research that. They go online, they go on YouTube. They don't have CNN, they don't have BBC. They have their own channels, and everything is in Russian, of course. But people actually study English language and study German and study French and study, other foreign languages, so they can actually know what exactly is going on and what people are actually saying. That's what I'm saying, and that's the truth. So, so that is the key in terms of how to work with information. And of course, all of those things can be researched. Like nobody actually most people don't think about, can we actually look at the Russian sources to see what they have to say? Russians do. Russians go, they even if they don't know the language, they turn on they try to find out, Spain, what do Spanish have to say about Spain? So they go and on the video, turn on the captions and watch with the captions. Or learn the language. And that is the difference in terms of doing this. Right now, for example, I am, English is my second language. That's another thing.
You learn that in school?
Yeah.
In Russia?
Yeah.
Okay. We ain't learning Russia here. That's crazy, isn't it?
Exactly.
Because you can, that's what made you immigrate. Because you can fit in easier.
Yeah.
I can't go Russia because I would not fit in. I can't learn the language. It takes a while.
It takes a while, exactly, and it's a difficult language to learn.
It looks it. God damn.
It's a difficult language. But right now, I'm looking more into the Old English because I want to see some of the original historical records about Britain.
Old English is deep. I'm actually reading the Geneva Bible right now, and that's in Old English. So you actually see even the spellings are so much different, and the spellings.
Do you mean the Geneva? What century? Because that would be
it was 16th century. Geneva.
Right. That would be after Old English. That would be still on the verge between Middle English and Contemporary English. But the Old English, the one that Beowulf was written in, and the Anglo-Saxon Gospels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look into it. But listen, sis, we've been stuck on Russia for a long time. Wow, Genesis. Look where we are still.
Yeah.
But look, let's go into your music, man, because you are a musician.
Yeah.
A very talented musician, I must say. When I was looking into your stuff, you play the piano, the keyboard piano, play the guitar. What other instruments you play?
I play. So I program all of the beats. I play all of the instruments through my keyboard. On the computer when I make music. I also play dombra, which is a Russian folk instrument, which is what balalaika came from. And originally dombra, gusli, and a few other instruments, they are considered to be also spiritual instruments. And in fact, in the 17th century, at the time, some of the priests, they wanted to kind of follow the Reformation in Western, like how it was in Western Europe, but it flopped. But at the time, they tried to burn down those instruments, because those instruments were the ones that were used by the spiritual musical travelers who would usually go, and they would be the news of the time. So this and this tradition is where I come from as a musician, where music is not just entertainment. Music is telling the history, telling the truth, telling the knowledge. Yeah. So usually people would go with like gusli, for example, and something is going on in the country, and they'll go from village to village, and they'll make it into a song. And that's how they'll come to a village, tell the story, then move on.
I love that. Education should be through music as well, I think.
That's very
powerful.
And and a lot of that music we still have. It's been written down, it's been so we still have that, and those traditions. So I play dombra. I also just brought in another instrument that I'm learning to play from Dagestan, which is called kardag.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So it's like a clarinet, but a different version. It's duduk and clarinet. Duduk is also, it's a wind instrument as well, but the one that usually the best time when you can play it is if you're sitting in the mountains and you just play that melody.
Oh, lovely.
And every time I pick up that instrument, seriously, you know, it's like you're just breathing in and breathing out, you know, you don't need any kind of breathing exercises, you know, it's like yoga, but in terms of music, right? And so I'm just playing like loads of other instruments, and I'm learning goosley and, you know, a bit of bass guitar. And the main thing is, of course, I'm the sound engineer, so
you are.
I have to always think about how the original instrument sounds, so I can make it sound, you know, real if I'm playing it through the MIDI keyboard.
So you got a real musical background, because I read somewhere as a child you was in orchestra.
Yeah.
Yeah? For how long?
So from the age of 7 until the age of 15,
Sorry, I didn't ask this question because I want to just get out of the way. What made you move from Russia to the UK? What was the reason?
Well, at the time there were certain situations that were prevalent in Moscow and in Russia in 2006, but they were also a part of this kind of change that was going on because Soviet Union collapsed, and we had the wild 90s and the wild early 2000s when, you know, if you imagine, it's pretty much, it was like a revolution, and afterwards everything just went upside down. So at the time there were there were a lot of influences, as you can see, like, and they had a lot of finances coming in terms of trying to promote false ideologies.
Okay.
And which was unnatural, in fact, for Russia, which was there were skinheads there. And of course, skinheads originated from England. And if you think about it, you know, people all of a sudden, there were some groups that were financed from, you know, had some finances, and they were going out and, you know, trying to they were siding with Hitler, you know, and a lot of Russians were actually, you know, that's the whole point, is now people are thinking, well, how could this be? It's like, how can you? It's one or the other. You know, you can't go with one ideology or the other ideology. So that was, I even did a caricature at the same time, you know, about the skinheads. And then another thing is obviously the West is, especially after establishing the American music business, you know.
In Russia?
No, in America.
Okay, yeah. So that happened in Russia?
Is kind of dictating the narrative to the rest of the world for the past century, but especially since the invention of recorded music.
60s. 50s, 60s.
Yeah, because imagine, but it didn't influence Russia at the time, of course, in Soviet Union, you know, in 60s and 70s. So none of those sexual revolutions, none of that happened there. You know, people were still naive and really clean. Do you know what I mean? You know, there are a lot of influences that are influencing the world, and I feel like people don't really hear the other side from the East.
We don't.
They don't hear.
We don't. We gotta take straight. But sis, let's move on past the Russian bit because we're back in your music.
Yeah.
You are the founder and owner of Multivision Music and Studio.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst to you starting the studio up?
So because I've been doing music all my life, I wanted to do you know, to learn everything. So I did master's degree, and then of course I studied sound engineering, and then I did and then I did a music production course in London. And I think from the time when I was 13, as soon as I found out via dial-up internet at the time that you can make music on the computer, and I was begging my dad to get me a computer.
Wow.
And he didn't want to because he thought I would play games. This is still in the 90s, right? 99. And I was like, no, I want to make music. And nobody understood. This is before YouTube, before any kind of tutorials online. This is before, the whole hype of everyone being a producer and their dog and their cousin and everyone. No, I didn't know anything. There was no information. And when I went online via this dial-up internet, when my mom wasn't on the phone, someone else wasn't on the phone, right?
Oh yeah. I forgot about those things. You've come so far from it. But
and imagine me as a child alone by myself sitting there like, how can I make music on the computer?
You pick up the phone, used to have the dial tone, didn't it?
Yeah.
The internet, innit?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You come a long way.
Yeah.
You come a long way.
So I would go so I would go online and I'll just try, and there was no Google yet, right? So I'll just go on the Russian search engine, Yandex, Rambler, like something like that. So I'll just go like, how do I make music? And I just get like a couple of pages saying, oh, you need a MIDI keyboard. And I'm like 13, thinking, oh, where is a MIDI keyboard? Where'd you get one? Oh, it's $100. And $100 at the time, this is literally like a teacher's salary at the time in Russia was $20. And you think, oh my days, this is like a car. Yeah. And so I was dreaming. And imagine I'm the only girl and none of who is interested in this. And even the boys don't know anything about it.
Were you the only child for your mother and father?
Yeah.
So, oh wow.
I'm the only child, but even around me, it's not like there was only, I was hanging out with the boys mostly. And, even among them, there was one other boy that kind of was learning about these things as well, but none of them had the computer. So they used to come into my house and we would make some music together.
Wow.
And then the other guy, he was rapping. Now he's kind of like well known there. Okay. So this was like the beginnings, and there was no information. And now, so moving on, I was thinking about how can I actually build it? How can I learn everything in terms of music, sound engineering side as well? And I wanted to do it first in Moscow, but I was doing my master's degree and I was performing in 3 bands and doing loads of different things. Mm-hmm. And eventually, finally, I got to do it when I moved to London. Wow. And I worked at...
2006?
Yeah, 2006. So when I moved to London, within, after a couple of weeks, I've been here, I went to the music technology shop called Turnkey at the time, which was the legendary music technology shop.
In Croydon?
In England, generally.
It's
in Charing Cross Road.
Oh, Charing Cross.
Yeah. So this was the first music technology shop in London. So I went there to buy some blank CDs. And then I saw that there was a vacancy and I was like, oh, I'm looking for a job because I just came, right? I was fresh, right? I was like, can I get a job? And so I gave them my CV. They called me for an interview.
That's good.
Day afterwards, you had to do a very difficult technical test talking about compressors and equalizers. And I learned all of those things in Russian.
Okay.
This was the first time I saw them in English.
Okay, so was it like overwhelming?
It was overwhelming. In fact, there was another guy that was also doing the test at the same time and he didn't get the job.
Oh.
Right, I got the job. And it was very tough, right? So you had to learn all about music equipment. Like we would sell things like this, There was a podcaster one time, he came and said, yeah. And he said he needed a cable and I sold him a sound card, a mic, software, everything. He said, thank you afterwards. This is the beginning of podcasting days. Do you know what I mean? And so so after working there for almost a year, I got my discounts and I built my studio first in North London. And then I moved to Croydon. And then in my studio, actually from my studio, we launched Grime music in Russia.
We're gonna get to that still because you've done so much before you did that, yeah. Because you've, I listened to your music. When I listen to your music, I think you're more suited, from my personal opinion. I think you're more suited for movies. Yeah, you got that Disney type of sound. It's like, yeah, it's magical. That's your type of sound. That's how I feel. So you dropped 3 EPs, or was it 4 EPs? 4. Emancipation? No,
3 EPs and 2 albums, and I'm really yeah.
Okay, so Emancipation, that EP?
Yeah.
2009?
Yeah.
Okay. The Edge of Love?
Yeah.
2014?
Yeah.
I Am Free?
Yeah.
Same year?
Yeah.
What about Love Over Hate then?
Love Over Hate, that's another one. And then since then I released...
So that's 4 EPs then?
Yeah, that's 4 EPs, but three in a row. That was a trilogy,
Okay,
and the
yes.
first one was Emancipation.
Okay, yes.
But then in 2017, I released my album The Alchemist,
Yes.
and Legends on the Map 8 months later.
Yes. That your last album, Legend on the Map?
Well, that was released after The Alchemist, but now I'm getting ready my third album, Revelationships.
Wow, Revelationships. No,
Yeah.
you called it. Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's the time of revelations about a lot of things.
There's 2 songs I liked from yours specifically. I felt like it resonated with me more. If I got it wrong, please just correct me. But one was Life. I like that one. I know that's one of your favorites as well because you said it in the interview.
Yeah.
And the other one was Fearless.
Yeah.
Fearless?
Yeah.
Fearless. That was the one. Those 2 hit me.
Yeah.
And that's when I got, okay, yeah, you're actually a musician. Like by trade, it's just who you are. I love your meditation music as well.
Okay.
Yeah. 100 Eyes, I deep dive.
Yeah.
But what's that song called? Yeah, Is it Day by Day?
Yeah, Day by Day.
That's the one that had Piers Morgan in it, isn't it?
Yeah,
he was the weatherman,
Piers
wasn't
Corbin, not Morgan. No.
Piers, you see the confusion. But yeah, Piers Corbin was in that video. He was the weatherman, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the weatherman. In fact, I created the script and I thought, like, Piers, let's just show you from the actual side. You're an astrophysicist. Let's people see that you're actually the weather forecaster, the side that people don't know about you.
See, there you go.
But the weather, like, it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
You know, the weather in the world, you know, and also all of these, you know, talks about, you know, changing the weather also in terms of the metaphor, like things are changing in the world, big changes, right? The weather in terms of the moods. People, if you notice, since 2020, the people's moods have changed 100%, right? The vibe, everything.
We're plants with emotions.
Yeah.
So if the sun's out, we're shining, we're blooming. The sun's not here. Have you noticed everyone's just cold and dark and dingy in the winter? Just like plants are. So yeah, we're plants with emotions. So yeah, back to what I was saying. You produced one of the biggest hits in Russia, right?
Actually, it was an album.
Oh.
Yeah, it was an album which was was the best rap album of 2011. And then I produced the entire movement. There was a few rappers and we launched grime music in Russia through the internet. No major labels.
Is grime still in Russia now?
Yeah.
Oh wow! So that's because of you. You're like the building blocks of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've done it in your studio.
Yeah, and also I'm behind the movement, and I'm the producer. I'm before that, these rappers were just starting out and they were sitting on the bench, you know, and just vibing with each other. But I basically made it happen, you know, as the sound engineer, and of course I had the quality control as well, because I had to make sure that the sound is right, you know, the flow is right, the vibe. And there's been people that have tried to recreate, you know, to have that kind of like center of that kind of music in London, and it didn't happen because it's not about just following the formula. In music in general, music is not like some kind of manufacturing process. If you want to create something different, something that makes sense, if you want to change something and something that touches people's hearts, that's why, you know, I choose to stay independent and with my own label. I don't want to promote anybody's agendas. I don't want to be signed to no major label. I don't care. Major labels wanted to buy Fearless. Right? I don't want it.
Self-sufficient woman. But I can see that though. You're self-made, man. So
it's more about the fact that I just don't agree with. I see that majority of the major labels are promoting certain agendas, and they are on the side of the fourth industrial revolution, and I am totally against it. I believe in a different way of civilization. we are in the times of the clash of different ideas of what human civilization is going to do in the future. And I don't agree with anything to do with that. No microchips, nothing.
All right. You know what, sis? I'm going to be real. We need a part 2. I'm skimming so much, yeah. It's not enough. We ain't got enough time. So, I'm annoyed. But, name me the biggest grime artist in Russia right now. So I can look him up.
I will tell you, because there's some things that we don't have time for this, but I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the link because...
Is there a few?
Yeah, there's quite a few, yeah.
No problem. Okay, cool. Who do you make music for? When you write music, who do you make it for? Who's your target audience?
For humanity. I'm more like of the...
Stop there. So you've done over 150 live shows, yeah?
Yeah.
Across England and Russia. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I read up, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, boom. Polarities. What's your most memorable show? And what's your worst? And why?
Well, I would say that there were 2 most memorable shows. One was this year, actually, because I'm introducing the new type of show that I'm doing now. So it was memorable in a sense that I could tell myself, oh yeah, I can do it. As it was in the making in my head for years. And finally it's kind of coming together where I'm singing, I'm playing the keys, I'm playing various different instruments. I'm also DJing myself.
Get out, go.
And I'm sound engineering my own sound because
part 2, go.
Because going to the worst show, the worst show, for a musician is always the one where the sound was horrible, right? Exactly, right? You're trying, you've done your best.
You can't save it. I know.
And since then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to be my own sound engineer. And the other good show that I really remember, it wasn't my own show. I was performing with a British band, Kasabian, and it was in Glastonbury Festival on the Pyramid stage. So we were headlining Sunday night, and it was incredible in terms of, imagine 100,000 people in front of you, 1 million people watching on the TV, right?
Fascinating.
The vibe was just amazing.
That sounds sick.
And just this was the first time I came to Glastonbury, so of course I wasn't dressed for Glastonbury. I was wearing stilettos.
And don't know about Glastonbury, the mud
but it was fine because I just went straight to backstage and it was all
nice,
pure and clean and everything. And Ed Sheeran was performing before, so we got to see a few people performing. And so just the actual atmosphere, I really loved it in that sense. But of course, in terms of the worst show, as I said, there was a show where even I tried to pull off, it was like in some really tiny bar in London. But then I think the other guys, they just got jealous or something.
That's the music. That's the music game. Music game is so crazy.
And they spoke to the owner of the bar, and when there were like about 50 people coming to see me specifically, he had no fans coming.
So
I had about 50 people literally coming at the same time.
So what happened?
They decided to all of a sudden ask for their IDs, but they hating. And because the people came all in a group as like a fan night out, right? Half of them, of course, didn't have the IDs.
Oh, so they didn't get in?
No.
So you'd have got half your fans there?
Like literally.
That's bad. Do you want to name and shame that club?
It was years ago.
You're lucky she's a good person.
They probably don't exist anymore.
I would have shamed you laughing. That's
probably
really
they probably got their karma now.
Yeah, that sounds like it. They're not opening up shop. But sis, this has been educational. And this has been very edutaining. I told you we're the home of edutainment.
Yeah.
John and Sebastian just come and edutained us with world history. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I think we got to definitely get into part 2 when we organise another date and start part 2. I want to know more about your activism, your freedom fighting. We didn't even get touched that part because there's not enough time.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely make a part 2, sis. I appreciate you coming down. Thank you very much. Would you mind telling them where they can find you?
Yes, definitely. So my website, jonasebastian.com. All of the social media, Jana Sebastian.
Do you want to spell that for them, please?
JAHNASEBASTIAN.
Can't get that wrong now, people.
Yeah. Well, my studio is called Multivision Music because it's multi-vision, not a one-way vision, multi-vision.
I want to highlight, I met Jana. She didn't even know her. I didn't even meet her, but I saw her throughout the lockdown on the protest. And yeah, man, just what she was doing, I was intrigued. So I think I followed her from back then. I think she followed back. And yeah, I'm just happy that we just made this happen today. And we'll do a part 2. Because there's so much more to deep dive into. I think we didn't even skim the surface. We didn't even skim the surface.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But thank you very much for coming down, Jana. I hope you have a wonderful day and I wish you all the best in life.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Powers!